Hello. So here I'm going to do some problems with the double angle formulas and half angle formulas. So I need to evaluate cosine alpha equals 3 over 5 with, this says we're in quadrant 1. So let's draw a diagram of that. So cosine is 3 over 5. This tells us that our base is 3, our hypotenuse is 5, and a 3, 4, 5 is a very common right triangle. 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. 9 plus 16 is 25. Now, the sine of 2 alpha, this is equal to 2 sine alpha cosine alpha. And so this is going to equal 2 times sine alpha is 4 over 5, cosine alpha is 3 over 5. And so this is going to be, this is equal to 24 over 25. Cosine 2 alpha, I can use either of the 3 cosine formulas. So for cosine 2 alpha, why not use okay, because they already gave us cosine alpha is 3/5. So this is equal to 2 times 3/5 squared minus 1. So this will be 18 over 25. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. And then we're going to subtract 1 from it. So this is negative 7 over 25. Then we need tangent of 2 alpha. Okay, so we have 2 times tangent of alpha. Tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent, 4/3, divided by 1 minus 4/3 squared. So we have 8 over 3 divided by, this denominator is 9, so this would be 9 over 9 minus 16 over 9. We times all of this by 9 over 9. We will have 24 in the numerator, and then we have 9 minus 6, which is negative 7 in the denominator. Okay. Cotangent of beta is 2, and here this says that we are in quadrant 3. So we're in quadrant 3. If cotangent beta is 2, this is going to be your cosine over your sine, or your cosine over your sine. Find out what the hypotenuse is. This is going to be square root of 5. 4 plus 1 is 5. negative 2 squared plus negative 1 squared is equal to your hypotenuse squared. So 5 is c squared, so that the hypotenuse is radical 5. So if we need to find sine of 2 beta is equal to 2 sine beta cosine beta. This is going to be 2. Sine beta is going to be negative 1 over radical 5. Cosine beta is negative 2 over radical 5. So that when I multiply this out, the radical 5 times radical 5 is positive 5. Negative times a negative is a positive, and so this is going to be 4 over 5. So sine of 2 beta is equal to 4 over 5. For the b component, cosine 2 beta, let's go with cosine squared beta minus sine squared beta. And so cosine is going to be negative 2 over radical 5. We're going to square that minus negative 1 over radical 5 square. Okay, this is, your denominator will be 5 on both of them, and radical 5 squared is 5. So here we have 4 minus 1, or 3/5. So cosine 2 beta is equal to 3 over 5. And then we need tangent of 2 beta. So tangent of 2 beta is going to be 2 tangent beta divided by 1 minus tangent squared beta. Tangent of beta, tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent. So we have 2 times 1/2 divided by 1 minus 1/2 squared. Okay, so the numerator is going to be 1 divided by, this is going to be 4 over 4 minus 1 over 4. Multiply this by 4 over 4, and this would give me 4 in the numerator and 3 in the denominator. Okay. All right. Here we'll draw a sketch. So we are in quadrant 3. Cosine is negative 1 over 8. So our x is negative 1. The hypotenuse is 8. What is our missing length? So we have a squared equals, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So that this is equal to 64 minus 1, which is 63. And that implies that a is equal to 3 radical 7. 63 is 9 times 7, and square root of 9 is 3. And this would be negative because we are in quadrant 3. Okay, so for the half angle, Okay, this is going to end up being negative because sine is negative in quadrant 3. So we have negative square root of 1 minus cosine is negative 1 over 8 divided by 2. Okay. So 8 plus 1/8 is 9 over 8. And if I'm dividing by 2, it's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. And so this would give me square root of 16 in the denominator, which is just a 4. And then this would be 3 over 4. And then for the b part, cosine of theta over 2. So this is plus or minus, this is 1 plus cosine theta over 2. So cosine is negative in quadrant 3. Negative square root of 1 plus, we have negative 1/8. So this would be actually a 1 minus 1/8 divided by 2, which is negative. So this is 8 minus 1/8. It's 7 over 8 times a half. Cosine is negative in that quadrant. And this would be negative radical 7 over 4. And then for the tangent, let's go with 1 minus cosine theta divided by sine theta. Just looks like a good one to use. So this is 1 minus cosine of theta is negative 1/8 divided by sine theta is negative 3 radical 7 over 8. Times this by 8 over 8. And this will give me, also we can add the opposite. So 8 times the first term gives me an 8. And then plus 1 divided by negative 3 root 7, which is equal to 9 over negative 3 root 7. And so this would be negative 3 radical 7 over 7. 9 over 3 is 3. When you rationalize the denominator, you'll get radical 7 over 7. Okay. So here we are in quadrant 4. So cosine is 12 and 13. That makes this a 5 because 12 squared plus 5 squared is 13 squared. This is 144 plus 25 is 169. Oh, and this 5 will be a negative 5 because we are in quadrant 4. Okay, so for A, sine of alpha over 2, this is going to be plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine alpha over 2. And sine is negative in quadrant 4. Then we have 1 minus cosine is 12 over 13, all divided by 2. And so I have 13 over 13 minus 12 over 13 is going to be 1 over 13, and then times the reciprocal. We're dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/2. And so this tells us that sine of alpha over 2 is equal to negative, it's going to be negative radical 26 over 26 when you rationalize the denominator. Okay, looking at the B part, we have cosine alpha over 2. This is going to be equal to plus or minus 1 plus cosine alpha over 2. Cosine is positive in quadrant 4, so we're going to look for the principal square root, and cosine alpha is 12 over 13, all divided by 2. Okay, so we have 13 over 13 plus 12 over 13 is 25 over 13. Divided by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/2, which is going to be 5 radical 26 over 26 equals your cosine alpha over 2. And then for the tangent of alpha over 2, let's go with 1 minus cosine alpha over sine alpha. So we have 1 minus cosine alpha is 12 over 13. All divided by sine is negative 5 over 13. Multiply this by 13 over 13, and we get 13 minus 12, which is 1 in the numerator, over 5 in the denominator, and this will be a negative. So tangent alpha over 2 is equal to negative 1 over 5. Thank you very much. Please go to tutoring.